Stories are starting to emerge about the Orlando nightclub shooter and that he may have visited the club before. I'm Kenneth Craig in Orlando with the latest coming up.
The man charged with killing Alex Johnson took the stand today in his own defense. You'll hear from Mark Taylor coming up.
I'm Mike Byer on Winchester Road. Coming up on WKYT News at noon, a two-car head-on crash sends 2 people to the hospital.
This is WKYT News at noon.
Good afternoon from WKYT News. I'm Bill Bryant.
And I'm Barbara Bailey. We're standing by for a special report from CBS. President Obama is expected to give an update on the Orlando shooting investigation. We'll bring you that live as they're ready.
Meanwhile, investigators are trying to figure out if the gunman visited the Pulse nightclub before Sunday morning's deadly shooting. Kenneth Craig has that story, and it is our top story at noon.
Investigators were still on the scene of Sunday's shooting massacre this morning. Behind the scenes, they're also looking into unconfirmed reports from clubgoers that Orlando shooter Omar Mateen visited the gay nightclub before he decided to open fire there. A law enforcement official tells CBS News that investigators have confiscated tapes from surveillance cameras located around the club. Law enforcement sources also say there is evidence he may have also researched Walt Disney World as a target before ultimately choosing the Pulse nightclub. Mateen's estranged wife returned to their home in Fort Pierce late last night to pick up some belongings. She needed a locksmith to help her get inside. There are also questions about the FBI's 2 prior investigations into the 29-year-old shooter. He was cleared in both cases. FBI Director James Comey says they interviewed him twice during the first investigation.
He said he hoped that law enforcement would raid his apartment and assault his wife and child so that he could martyr himself.
While the investigation continues, dozens of victims are on their long roads to recovery. Many of them were taken to the medical center just blocks away.
I was shot about 3 times in my leg.
Survivor Angel Colon recounted his harrowing experience while thanking hospital staff at a Tuesday news conference.
I couldn't walk at all. All I could do was just lay down there while everyone was just running on top of me.
A sea of thousands gathered at a massive candlelight vigil in Orlando last night, where a church bell rang 49 times, one for each victim. Kenneth Craig, CBS News, Orlando.
Again, President Obama is expected to speak shortly, and he will be traveling to Orlando Thursday to pay respects to the victims.
We've learned one of the victims of the Orlando shooting had ties to Central Kentucky. Friends say Darryl Bert lived in Georgetown during part of his childhood, but most recently lived in Jacksonville, Florida, where he had just earned his master's degree. WKYT's Hillary Thornton shows us how he's being remembered here in the Bluegrass. She continues our top story team coverage at noon.
Darryl Bert, known as DJ, came up through the Scott County School District until his family moved away to Indiana. And while he only spent a couple of years here at the high school, he left a big impression on those who knew him.
When I learned that DJ was one of the people who had been killed, it put a face on the tragedy for me, and it was just awful.
Bert spent much of his childhood in Central Kentucky, growing up in Georgetown, attending Garth Elementary before then moving on to Georgetown Middle School, then the 9th grade school, and then high school. His family did move away, and Bert graduated from an Indiana high school back in 2005. Up until Sunday, Bert worked at Kaiser University in Jacksonville as a financial aid officer working with the school's military students. He was also still working hard on his own education, receiving his master's degree just hours before the shooting. Bert was also a very involved member of the Jacksonville Jaycees, a group dedicated to community service. The 29-year-old leaving a legacy of compassion and hard work. All things Kathy Owens, who taught Bert in the 9th grade, says he exemplified even as a young student.
None of those things surprised me. He was going to be one of those people that were successful in whatever they did because he had people skills. He was engaging with other people, and he was willing to work hard. And you know, those 2 things will take you where you want to go.
Along with his kind heart and work ethic, something else they say they will never forget about Bert is his infectious smile. In Georgetown, Hillary Thornton, WKYT.
How school leaders and friends say that Bert was very loved at the university where he was working, and grief counselors are on hand for people who need them. We have updated coverage on the Orlando shootings on WKYT.com and on WKYT News app.
In other news at noon, one person is in serious condition. Another is fighting for life after a serious crash in Lexington this morning. It happened near the intersection of Winchester Road and Man o' War around 8 o'clock this morning as rush hour was getting underway. WKYT's Mike Byer is near the scene where the road is now back open. Mike?
Winchester Road, just east of Man o' War Boulevard, was the scene of a terrible two-car head-on crash this morning, a crash that sent 2 people to the hospital. Lexington Fire and police were called out to the accident around 8 this morning. Firefighters say that's when 2 cars driving on Winchester Road hit head-on. 2 people were involved. Both of them were taken to UK Hospital. Firefighters tell us one of the drivers has life-threatening injuries, while the other person is in serious condition. The police department's accident investigation unit was on scene. So far, they have not released any details of how the accident happened. Now a 3rd vehicle was seen resting on the side of the road. First responders tell us why.
There was a car on the trailer that the pickup truck was pulling, and it actually knocked the car off of the trailer. I mean, it's a 55-mile-per-hour speed limit, so anytime you've got 2 cars going opposite directions, you're talking about high-speed collision.
Now, Winchester Road was shut down for several hours because of the crash, but as you can see behind me, the accident scene is clear and the road has reopened. In Lexington, Mike Byer, WKYT.
Mike, thank you. The names of the victims have not yet been released. Police are investigating a deadly crash involving a car and a semi on the Bluegrass Parkway today. Traffic is shut down in both directions, just east of the Boston exit in Nelson County. Our sister station in Louisville is reporting that 1 person was killed. Another person has been transported to an area hospital. The victim has not been identified at the moment.
It's day 6 of a high-profile murder trial in Lexington. Mark Taylor is accused of kidnapping and killing former UK employee Alex Johnson in December of 2013 and dumping his body in the Kentucky River. This morning, Taylor took the stand in his own defense. WKYT's Victor Puente is at the Fayette County Courthouse now with more on his testimony.
Today we heard from Robert Mark Taylor for the first time. He claims it was Timothy Ballard who attacked and killed Alex Johnson. Prosecutors say Mark Taylor beat Alex Johnson to death. Then Timothy Ballard helped him load the body into a barrel and dumped it into the Kentucky River. They say the pair then took thousands of dollars from Johnson's apartment. Taylor took the stand today in his own defense. At first, his attorneys asked him about his early life in Florida and how he ended up moving to Kentucky. He said when he moved to Lexington, he worked at several different clubs and met Alex Johnson through selling marijuana. He said the day Johnson was killed, Timothy Ballard was driving him around as he made deliveries. He said they stopped at Johnson's apartment and he did some cocaine with Johnson before going back out to the car where Ballard was waiting. He said at that point, Johnson made an offhand comment to Ballard that set him off, and he began beating Johnson.
Tim got out of the car and went around to the driver's side of the car and continued to hit Alex multiple times until he didn't scream anymore. He looked back. I remember at one point he looked back and said something to the nature of, I have witnesses now. I might as well kill you.
Last week, prosecutors played surveillance video that they said showed Taylor beating Johnson to death. Today on the stand, Taylor said that video actually showed him trying to perform CPR on Johnson to save his friend's life. This trial is expected to end this week. In Lexington, Victor Puente, WKYT.
Victor, thank you. Ballard has already pleaded guilty to kidnapping and tampering with evidence. He testified against Taylor as part of that plea. The heat and humidity ramping back up this afternoon, and that's the perfect recipe for some severe storms, especially back to the west. WKYT meteorologist Micah Harris is live in our First Alert Weather Center now with a look ahead.
Well, right now we're looking back west. That is where the warm front is located. That's where it's slowly but surely making its way into our region, but it's just going to take a little bit of time. Look toward the afternoon for it to really ramp up. For our far west and southwestern zones, that is the best best likelihood of actually picking up some storms. If you look toward Paducah, in between Paducah and Bowling Green, you see that sparking up. That's kind of what we're going to be seeing here across 65 here in just the next hour or two. Frankfurt is 86 degrees. You do have a rain chance about 30-40% there in Frankfurt. London is more like 30-40%, but Jackson, you're more like 5 to 10%. So the farther east you go, the better likelihood of actually picking up on some rain, and that's going to be the case. So the farther west, that's where we could be seeing some storms. It's not so much the storms today, it's tomorrow with that severe weather threat, and I'll be talking all about that coming up.
Micah, thank you. New at noon, an eastern Kentucky man is accused of kidnapping a handicapped girl. According to the arrest citation, state police say Donald Rice went to the victim's Knox County home and coerced the 11-year-old girl, who cannot communicate, to get into his vehicle. When the child's guardian later found Rice in a secluded area, he speeded away with the child. Rice reportedly returned the girl to her home. He is charged with kidnapping. Kentucky Attorney General Andy Beshear has been named a co-chairman of a group of law enforcement officials that battles substance abuse. According to the Office of the AG, the committee works with law enforcement, prosecutors, and community leaders to battle the drug epidemic. Beshear calls Kentucky's drug epidemic, quote, the biggest issue facing our state, families, and communities. He will co-chair the committee with Florida's Attorney General Pam Bondi. His term begins on July 1st. And kids in southern Kentucky are spending a fun-filled week with some members of the Kentucky State Police.
It's the second day of the annual Trooper Island Camp at Dale Hollow Lake in Clinton County. The camp is giving 64 less fortunate children from around the state a chance to spend a week doing outdoor activities.
Well, the father of the woman killed by the Blade Runner Oscar Pistorius testified at his murder sentencing in South Africa today. We'll have the latest from the hearing coming up on Kentucky's #1 Midday News.
Also ahead, Grammy winner Adele honored the victims of the Orlando shooting massacre during a recent concert in Belgium. We'll tell you about her heartfelt tribute next on WKYT. Welcome back to WKYT News at noon. Double amputee Olympian Oscar Pistorius was back in a South African courtroom for day 2 of his murder sentencing.
Pistorius was convicted of killing Reva Steenkamp on Valentine's Day in 2013. Her father took the stand today, testifying that he imagines his daughter must have been experiencing great fear and pain before she died. Pistorius was found guilty of culpable homicide during his first trial, but an appeal later changed that verdict to a higher charge of murder. The minimum sentence is 15 years, but his lawyers are arguing that he is mentally unfit to be sent back to jail. Family, friends, and fans are remembering a Voice contestant who was brutally gunned down in Orlando over the weekend. A candlelight vigil was held last night for Christina Grimmie in her New Jersey hometown. Police say Kevin Loibel shot Grimmie while she was signing autographs after a concert Friday night. Grimmie's brother tackled the suspect, who then turned the gun on himself. Her voice coach, Adam Levine, has offered to pay for her funeral expenses. Well, Adele delivered an emotional tribute to the Orlando shooting victims during her latest concert.
The Grammy winner took the stage in Belgium Sunday night, telling the crowd that she was dedicating the entire show to everybody in Orlando who was at Pulse nightclub the night of the largest mass shooting in U.S. history. The British superstar started to tear up when she said the LGBTQA community has been soulmates to her ever since she was young, and she's been very moved by the tragedy. The Broadway hit Hamilton helped to give the 70th annual Tony Awards its biggest audience in 15 years. 8.73 million viewers tuned into that broadcast, and that is up quite a bit from last year.
All right, we are now going to go to CBS News headquarters for the update on what is going on. The president is about to speak and update us on Orlando.